Hello, everybody, and welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to click and have a look. We're all about wine education here on this channel in a very friendly and informative way. And here I'm looking at a series called Mastering Spain. This is my very in-depth look at this beautiful country on the Iberian Peninsula in Western Europe. And here I'm going to be going through climate and weather to a very detailed amount in this area. So if you have any comments or questions, please do get in touch and comment on the video below. Please let me know about your experiences in Spain, what regions you've been to, and certainly talk about how the climate and weather has been when you have visited. Potentially, it's great to start a conversation around climate change, which we need to talk about in greater detail. So let's get rocking and rolling, talking about climatic conditions in Spain. So to begin with, let's talk about some of these areas. Now, Spain has a lot of landscape. Mainland Spain spans for about sort of 550 miles. It's 36 north to 43 north in terms of degrees latitude. If you include the Canary Islands, which is an archipelago which sits closer to North Africa than it does to Spain, then we have that at 27 degree north, of course, being much closer to the equator. So we know that Spain has this extensive coastline. And that's what I mentioned there. So 550 miles of it. But it also has dramatic topography with beautiful rivers and very large, significant mountain ranges, which I'm going to go through in this presentation. It also has the famous large raised plateau, the Meseta, which covers its central regions, and it has both the north and the southern section of the Meseta. So really where you see a lot of that orange on your map. The north and the northwest of the country, highlighted there in mostly green and a splash of blue, is very much dominated and moderated by the Atlantic Ocean. So therefore, it has a maritime climate with high levels of rainfall throughout the year. Now, this is an area typically called green Spain, and that's because this area wouldn't really be amiss, say, somewhere in the United Kingdom, because it has lots of green and lush vegetation throughout its growing season. We include here Galicia, Asturias, Cantabria, and also the País Vasco or Basque Country. So that's your northern section. Let's have a look and put it into perspective in terms of a pluviometric map, or what we would call a rainfall map, which I put on the left-hand side of your screen just there. There you are. So winters range from around 8 to 15 degrees Celsius. That's 46 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit. And summers are 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. That's 64 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit in this northern Spain area. There is limited seasonal variation, what we call continentality, due to the moderating effect of the ocean. Rainfall is therefore abundant all year round. And if you are looking to escape to somewhere warm and dry, you wouldn't necessarily pick the north of the Spain. Those the Spanish who are looking to escape just the hot, dry conditions of the center of the Iberian Peninsula do like to go for that break in the weather. Rainfall with its associated risks is certainly fairly high here. Rainfall can be often 1,000 to 2,000 millimeters per year. That's 39 to 79 inches annually. With Western Galicia, and you'll see from your pluviometric map there, with the sort of purpley blobs, are certainly the most highest in terms of their rainfall. Now, most of the rainfall is winter focused, but of course it does come throughout the year. There's less rainfall and it's warmer when you move more inland. So you've only got to go inland to the city of Orense, which is very close to Ribeiro. It is the city next to it, where it actually gets much drier and warmer, and you can get summer drought in these locations. They're climatically cool and wet, and it tends to be therefore suited to the early ripening varieties, of course. The northern regions then, many of the vineyard areas in the north and the northeast are sheltered somewhat from the Atlantic. So we've just been talking about the real coastal areas, but if we just come inland a little bit more, so below that circular red zone that I've highlighted on your map, which is the Cantabrian mountain range, we therefore have a sheltering, protective layer of mountains. So immediately south of that is Castilla y León, La Rioja, parts of Navarra, for example, and they can actually be much more continental in their climatic conditions, though they will still have some maritime influence. Next up would be considered the Mediterranean zone, which stretches along the south and eastern coast. So that's really from Andalucía, which is yellow on your map, going up to sort of Cataluña. Temperatures here are milder than in the interior. Winters will average at around 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. That's 50 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And summers are warmer than North Green Spain at around 26 to 30 degrees Celsius. That's around 79 to 90 Fahrenheit. The inland parts of these zones can easily surpass 40 degrees Celsius. That's over 100 Fahrenheit. And the climate becomes increasingly hot further south, specifically in that kind of orangey area of Murcia and a part of Andalucía, known for being some of the hottest and driest. Now, many of the vineyards are moderated by the influence of the sea or altitude, and that will depend on the location. So areas such as Valencia, which is a city and a major important city on the east coast, that lies on the coastal area, experiencing cold winters and hot summers, but moderated by breezes. Rainfall is the lowest on the mainland, with peaks in late autumn and winter. Coastal regions like Alicante and Murcia receive as little as 200 to 300 millimeters of rain per year. That's 8 to 12 inches. And that tends to be rainfall in autumn and winter. Northern parts in the Mediterranean zone, such as Cataluña, get higher rainfall, around 600 to 800 millimeters. That's 24 to 31 inches. That reflects a more moderate and humid climate. We need to talk, though, about the Balearic Islands. Highlighted on that map there, you'll see the Iberian Peninsula, but you've got a scattering of yellow islands just to the right of that, to the east. The Balearic Islands, including the islands such as Mallorca, Menorca, Ibiza, have a Mediterranean climate with mild winters, hot summers, and moderate rainfalls. You can get embat winds here, sea breezes, which can temper the summer heat. Low rainfall, though, here, looking at sort of 250 millimeters to 400 millimeters per year. And then we go to, of course, centralized Spain, and the Meseta, which is the large plain in the middle of Spain. It never rains on the plains. Really, the areas we're looking at here is this kind of northern Meseta and then this southern Meseta. Okay, so this is really continental, with big continentality, differences between summer and winter, and big differences of temperature from day to night. The Meseta Central, which is that large plateau, has altitudes of 600 to 900 meters, so it's good altitudes here, but it's cut off from the influence of the sea for the most part, and it's dominated by these encircling mountain ranges. You know, you have the likes of Sistema Ibéricos, Sistema Béticos, Sistema Central, for example. Now, winter lows are often around 0 Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit, while summer highs are frequently exceeding 35 degrees Celsius, that's 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Rainfall in these areas are irregular, with concentrated rainfalls in spring and autumn. Early ripening varieties like these conditions for sure, and that means that they will mature before the problems of autumn frost. Let's have a look at a nice picture to put this into play of the Meseta. Look at that. So winter temperatures can fall below freezing, and summer temperatures are in excess sometimes of 40 degrees Celsius with that irregular rainfall. The region's rainfall is concentrated, as I mentioned before, in spring and autumn. Now, the summer temperatures can sometimes be intensified, exacerbated by the Azores high, which is the Azores anticyclone. This hovers over the Atlantic south of the Azores, the Portuguese collection of islands, such as Picos, for example, and it shifts northward in summer, bringing blue skies, dry air, and hot temperatures. Summer intense temperatures can be moderated by the effects of diurnal range and leading to cool nights. Now that's important because a lot of Castilla-La Mancha, for example, sits above 600 meters, meaning that we will get that drop in temperature at night. It's worth talking about the subtropical areas of Spain. And this, of course, is that archipelago, which is closer to northern Africa. We call this the Canary Islands, the Islas Canarias, incorporating the likes of Tenerife, the likes of Gomera, La Palma, Lanzarote, for example, Gran Canaria. The Canary Islands are subtropical with a mild, stable climate throughout the year. So typically, winter is 15 to 21 degrees Celsius, so mild to warm, and that's 59 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And summer is 22 to 28 degrees Celsius, that's 72 to 82 Fahrenheit. Many people call this all year round one of the greatest climates in the world. The eastern islands, such as the active volcano of Lanzarote or Fuerteventura, are very dry, while the western islands, including La Palma and Tenerife, receive more rain, particularly on their windward slopes with the trade winds, so their northern sides. Some areas, vineyards are planted on volcanic craters or protected hollows to shield vines from the intense sun and persistent wind. The trade wind is locally called the alisios, which brings some cool, humid conditions, certainly on the north side of the islands. But Lanzarote and Fuerteventura are very dry. Lanzarote can be as little as 150 millimeters of rain per year. That's around sort of 4 or 5 inches of rain per year, very little. As I mentioned, Tenerife, La Palma, El Hierro, around 300 to 800 millimeters. That's 12 to 31 inches. Little bit to mention here about climate change. Now, we do know that Spain has many varieties which have adapted to heat and warmth already. So it seems to be viticulturally very much set up to deal with climate change better than other regions in the world. But of course, that won't be something that can protect against things like floods. And you'll see a picture here of the 2024 floods of Valencia. In late October 2024, catastrophic floods struck eastern Spain, due to a really powerful summer storm system, an autumnal storm system. Within a day, parts of Valencia and neighboring provinces received nearly 500 millimeters of rain. That's 20 inches. And of course, rivers overflowed, specifically those that have been really hardened, and drainage systems failed, leading to widespread flooding across the region. Many people sadly perished in these floods, over 200. Towns such as Utuel, so Utuel Requena, Paipota and Torrent suffered severe damage with lots of agricultural loss, and 22,000 animals perished as well, which is exceptionally sad. Highways, railway lines, and more than 100,000 vehicles were damaged. You'll see the picture just here. Agricultural losses were thought to be around 1 billion, and the total economic damage probably somewhere around 11 billion euros. Let's talk a bit about the winds now affecting the area. So regional winds that affect grape growing are important to talk about for the fact, of course, that they can reduce disease pressure. When they're gentle, they can help with pollination. When they're intense, they can really diminish pollination. They often mean that grapes have thicker skins because the wind is continually battering them. One of the most famous is the Thiezo that you see up here on your slide, a cold, dry, and often strong wind channeled down the Ebro Valley, blowing from the northwest to the southeast across La Rioja, Navarra, and Aragon, where the blue arrow is motioning on your slide. It's most common in autumn and winter. We then have the Tramontana. And the Tramontana is also a cold, dry wind blowing from the north and northwest, originating in the Pyrenees, which is coming up from originally the Atlantic, being fed through the gap between the Massif Central, the Montagne de Noir, and the Pyrenees, being pulled down through the Roussillon and through the Pyrenees itself. This affects areas like Empordà in Catalonia, but also this goes down the Mediterranean across the Balearic Islands, such as Mallorca. We then have a wind pattern called the Garbi, which is important in Catalonia. This is warm, humid, coastal, blowing from the southwest, typically during summer. So in areas like Catalonia, Valencia, but also the Balearic Islands, this affects, and typically it's a precursor to a storm pattern. More red arrowed here to mean warmth. Again, we have the Levant, which is a warm, humid wind blowing westward from the Mediterranean, affecting Valencia, Murcia, and Andalucía. Spring and summer based for the most part. Another one of these, but this time called the Solano. This is hot, dry, which blows from the southeast across the Meseta, particularly affecting Castilla-La Mancha, Madrid, and also Extremadura. Okay, so the kind of orangey part past the arrow there. This is linked to high pressure and heat waves, and it's spring to early summer. You then have the Leveche. Here you go on your map. This is hot and dry. This actually originates from the Sahara, affecting southeastern Spain, particularly in spring and summer. You often get a lot of dust and dust bowl conditions off the back of this one. You then have a blue arrow, so something a bit cooler, the Abrego. Mild, humid from the southwest, coming from the Atlantic, bringing rain, storms in autumn and spring. It affects Andalucía, where the arrow is pointing, Extremadura, and also Castilla-La Mancha. Our final wind is one that you actually may know if you have done WSET studies, and this is the Poinente. And the Puinente is a cool, humid westerly wind that blows all year round, especially in where the arrow is pointing in the south. So in southwest Andalucía, it counters the dry Levante wind, which comes from the east, bringing Atlantic moisture to the likes of Jerez, for example, in that area where it's pointing to. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining me. There are lots of other videos available in this Mastering Spain series. The next part of this, which is available to only those of you who subscribe to the Wine with Jimmy Club to gain access, that is mastering the indigenous grape varieties of Spain, of which I will go through in total about 80 different grape varieties. So please click on the link in the description of this video to go across to the Wine with Jimmy Club to gain your monthly access to series like Mastering Germany, Mastering Italy, Mastering Spain, where you'll get full in-depth knowledge on all of these key wine regions. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jimmy Smith, and ciao for now. Goodbye.